We are surrounded by many things that appeared a very long time ago. Over time, their purpose has changed dramatically. Why were M&Ms originally only allowed to be eaten by adults, while balloons were used at funerals? In this video on Mogol TV, I'm going to talk about 16 common things that we use in a very different way than we intended. And if you are not subscribed to the channel, then be sure to subscribe and click on the bell, so you will always be aware of new interesting videos na Mogol TV. Number 1 is spam. For most of us, spam is unwanted emails or SMS messages with advertisements. Leave like if you don't like spam either, but if you Google this word in English, you will see a huge number of photos of ham. But what is the connection between ham and email? The fact is that unnecessary advertising messages got their name from the American brand of canned ham. Spam stands for spiced ham, that is, ham with spices. This ham was actively eaten by the American military, and also supplied to Britain, which had big food problems after the Second World War. As a result, over the course of several decades, this ham in large quantities became so boring to Britons that from the 70s and 80s onward the word spam came to mean something superfluous and unnecessary. And with the advent of the ubiquitous internet, the concept of spam became actively entrenched in our minds. Number 2 is balloons. Today, we associate balloons exclusively with positive emotions, celebration or joy, but they appeared hundreds of years ago not at all to please the kids. Balloons were invented by the Aztecs, who twisted animal figures from balloons to burn them during sacrifices at the tops of their pyramids. Of course, the Aztecs did not have synthetic materials for the production of balloons. They took the intestines of animals and inflated them, but children probably should not be told about this. Number 3 is eyeshadow. This is a thing that almost every girl uses today, but eyeshadow appeared a long time ago, and men used it along with women. In ancient Egypt, eyeshadow was applied to protect the eyes from the scorching sun, then antimony material was used for this purpose. Many pirates did the same. They put burnt cork on their eyelids to protect the eyes and the skin next to them from the rays of the sun's reflected waves. So Jack Sparrow with painted eyes looks quite like the average pirate of that time. Number 4 is the hood. Today, the hood is an everyday piece of clothing, but we owe this to the monastic order of the Capuchins. They just got this name due to the fact that they wore pointed hoods. The monks used hoods to hide their faces. So they kept the secret and their faces were invisible. Number 5 is a frisbee. If you don't know the name, then you probably saw a plastic plate that, for fun, throws at each other. Today it is a sport in which international tournaments are held, but frisbee appeared thanks to pies. Yale students in America in the mid-50s of the last century amused themselves by throwing pie plates at each other, made by frisbee's pies. Since then, these plates have been made a little different from a different material, but the name has remained the same. Number 6 is M&Ms. Today, these sweets are a favorite treat for children and teenagers. But when M&Ms were first invented, only adults who served in the military could eat it. Because these candies were invented specifically for soldiers during World War II, the military needed chocolate as a source of energy. Candy covered with a shell did not melt in the sun. Only in the middle of the 20th century, dragées ceased to be exclusively a delicacy for soldiers. But the main feature and slogan, "Melts in the mouth, not in the hands," sounds even today. Number 7. Braille is a special raised font for the blind, but it was not invented for this at all. At the beginning of the 20th century, the captain of the French armies created a special alphabet for the military, which not only allowed messages to be encoded, but also read them blindly. After all, lighting a light in the dark you could attract the attention of the enemy. The creator of the modern type for the blind, Louis Braille, took that alphabet for the military as a basis. Number 8 is perfume. Today there are a huge number of types of perfumery, from cheap to incredibly expensive. Smelling good is considered the norm in today's society. But this was not always the case. In Europe, perfumery appeared only in the Middle Ages. Then people rarely washed themselves and used perfumery in order to beat off the pungent smell of a dirty and sweaty body. Number 9. Today there are many cool games on phones, but 20 years ago the main entertainment on the computer was games, Klondike and Minesweeper. Surely many of you, if not played, then at least heard about these old-school entertainments. Interestingly, these games on Windows did not appear so that people in the 90s and early 00 years could kill time in the office. The fact is that mice began to be used everywhere after the spread of computers, and these simple games were invented to teach people how to use the mouse. Number 10, T-shirts. Today, absolutely everyone wears T-shirts, from young children to the elderly. But this type of clothing appeared thanks to the military. In English, a T-shirt is called T-shirt, which means a shirt in the shape of T. By the U.S. military, during World War II, this cropped version of the shirt was used instead of underwear. After the war, wearing a T-shirt was considered rebellious. It was only 40 or 50 years ago that the T-shirt became a common form of clothing. Number 11 is heels. Today, heels are an essential attribute of women's clothing, but this was not always the case. Once it was exclusively men's shoes. Heels were actively used by riders in order to be able to comfortably rest against the stirrup and shoot on the go with a bow. Probably they could not even think then that after a while only women would wear heels. Number 12 is tea. Many people drink tea every day in more than one cup, but initially, when tea first appeared in China, it was used exclusively as a medicine. No one thought to drink it for pleasure. Even when tea came to Europe, at first they were only treated with it. Doctors even endowed tea with miraculous powers, almost raising the dead from the grave. But this, of course, is a big exaggeration, although it is perhaps thanks to such recommendations that tea has gained its current popularity. Number 13, rings. Today, rings are used as jewelry, but originally the rings had a more practical purpose. In ancient times, representatives of the nobility used the ring as a seal. Archers used rings to protect the skin of their fingers from the string. Later, the rings were an indicator of the status of the owner. Partly this has been preserved today. The only difference is that a huge number of inexpensive types of rings have appeared that anyone can buy. Number 14. The first webcam appeared because of a great love for coffee. The fact is that in the year 1991 at Cambridge University, for the entire team of participants in a scientific project, there was only one coffee machine, and it was located on another floor. Therefore, some colleagues often went without coffee. Young scientists found a clever way out of this situation. They put a webcam next to a coffee maker, and an image appeared on a remote computer that was updated 3 times a minute. Number 15. Umbrellas have been around since ancient China. They served exclusively as protection from the sun, and it was in this capacity that they moved to Europe. It was only in the 18th century that it first occurred to Europeans that an umbrella could be used to protect not only from the sun, but also from the rain. Number 16. Today, people pay money to be able to run on a treadmill, but in the early 20th century in Britain, running on such a device was completely free, while committing some kind of crime. In English prisons, prisoners used this way to grind grain. Constantly rearranging their legs, they set in motion a special mechanism. 100 years later, treadmills began to be used as a simulator. Do not forget to go to the Mogol TV group on Contact. Like, subscribe, click on the bell to be aware of new videos and, of course, leave your comments under this video.